It is time.
Nah, I don't like this. Nah.
What? It's a good
Stop.
song, man.
I don't like your lyrics.
I like the song. Hi, welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, where we debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in crossover battle simulations and reviewing their films and shows. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And this is the episode where we review The Defenders on Netflix. Hopefully you've seen it all by this point.
Yeah, so it was only 8 episodes, which...
It was a quick 8 episodes, too.
Really
I was able to jam it out in a couple of days.
I did it, like, two nights. Was all it took me.
So it is a spoiler review. All of our reviews are spoiler reviews. So make sure that you have watched the show before you listen to this review, unless you are like a masochist and enjoy having things ruined for you. But yeah, I've been looking forward to the show for a long time. I have a lot of things to say about it. I've been biting my tongue for like the past week just because I just want to talk about it to everybody. But I don't like talking about things before I talk about it in the podcast.
I actually don't know anyone else who has seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
In your personal life?
Yeah.
Not even your wife?
No.
Lame.
No, she hasn't seen the previous episode, the previous series.
I know like 4 people that.
I think that's sort of like a barrier to entry too. Is just if you haven't seen those episodes, you're not going to know the characters going into this one.
I would agree. I think a barrier to entry to watching the show as well is feeling that you need to watch all of the individual Netflix series of the individual characters.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching it, and initially I told my friend Sean, I was like, I don't think you need to watch all the individual shows before The Defenders. But as I was watching Defenders, I was like, it really helps if you watch the other shows.
Yeah,
before
for
this.
Sure. Otherwise, you're going to have Luke Cage's reaction, I'm the Iron Fist. Who? or something like that. I
mean, you still get it. It's still funny, but it's not as impactful, I guess. You could watch this whenever. You don't even have to watch any of the previous shows to watch this, but it does help.
For sure.
So before we get into the news and everything like that, I do want to give a quick shout out to our good friend Adam Spees, who has been on the show before. You might recognize his voice.
And he's also won like a bazillion no prize awards for the trivia.
We've done a lot of no prizes for him, but he also was on the Ant-Man movie review with us on this show, and he has his own podcast now called the Blast from Our Past podcast. And it's really cool. It's basically him and his brother talking about nostalgic like geek culture from the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
Things they enjoyed about growing up as a kid. And it's a lot of fun. Their first episode was about the Neverending Story and Thundercats. And they talked about like who they would cast in a Thundercats movie. And the second episode was about The Sandlot, which is a movie that I really loved as a kid. It was one of my favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if you grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, like Jonathan and I did, and are interested in that kind of stuff, it's a really fun podcast. They only have 2 episodes out so far as of this recording, but they'll have more up, and really looking forward to what they have later on down the road.
Yeah.
And I also want to give a shout out to Jay. Do we call him John or Jay? His name is Jay, but he goes by John.
Yeah.
He has a new podcast out too called Spoiler Country.
Yeah, he was with us during our Man of Steel review.
Yes. Yeah, he was another guest on this show. And his Spoiler Country podcast is another comics-related podcast, except it's more about the comic books. Like, he'll talk about the current comic books and everything, and they went to Comic-Con. It's a good show as well, so be sure to check that out. Look that up. The Blast from Our Past podcast and
Spoiler Country.
So, also, I want to give a quick shout-out to everybody who has left us a review. We've had a couple of reviews come in over the last few weeks.
On iTunes.
On iTunes, yeah. I don't think I've noticed any other reviews on any other platforms, but I'm so super appreciative of J-Dub Willie, Young Talks, Dranum78, Timinator, and Mike Cusick.
Yeah.
For all leaving just really wonderful reviews. It just melts my heart. I feel like I'm not good at taking compliments. So when I read the reviews, I'm like, shut up! You don't know what you're talking about. This is just a dinky podcast. But it's cool when people recognize the hard work that you put into trying to make something special.
Yeah, totally. I read those and I'm like, wow, maybe I'm not a total piece of shit.
No, dude, you are.
Oh,
you still are. I'm sorry. But yeah, thank you very much to those guys. And if you want, go ahead, leave us a review. Please, if you're not going to rate us, at least subscribe to the show, because this is a bi-weekly podcast. And it's easy to forget about over the course of 2 weeks.
For sure.
So, if you want to listen to the latest episodes, please hit that subscribe button. And that does it for the shout-outs. This episode, before we get into the Defenders review, we'll be going over the latest news. There's not a whole lot. We have a lot of bad news stories.
It's kind of a downer news schedule.
There was a Stuntwoman driver who died on the Deadpool 2 set during a stunt. And there's a whole lot of drama going on with the DCEU and the status of their Joker movies and Batman and everything like that.
Yeah.
We'll be getting into that. We'll be getting to the IMAX news regarding the Inhumans and how long their theatrical run actually will be now. And probably the only bright spot of this is the Punisher Netflix teaser, which we'll talk about at the end of the news, and we'll segue into the Defenders review.
Yeah.
So, first up, trivia. Want to give a shout out to aDavid1341 on Instagram for sending in the correct answer for last episode's question, which was, aside from Joss Whedon, name another director who has directed both a Marvel Comics film and a DC Comics film.
This was a really easy one. Actually, a lot of people got this one correct.
Yeah, it was pretty simple. The answer, obviously, was Bryan Singer, who has directed the X-Men films and also directed Superman Returns.
Right.
So, David, you get a no prize, a dynamic duel no prize, which is just a JPEG that we post on our social media that has your name on it. Jonathan draws a little character for you, and I'll leave it up to him for which one he draws.
He's a DC fan, right?
Yeah, he's a DC fan, so draw him a DC guy for his no prize.
Maybe.
Oh, my phone went off. So this episode's question is, what were the first live-action television series for both DC and Marvel? And I want to emphasize live action, so not animated. And we'll give a hint later on in this episode. I was about to give the hint now, but we'll go ahead and
Don't do it.
We'll give the hint later on in this episode, so listen for that. If go ahead and submit your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. You could just do a search for Dynamic Duel, DC or Marvel on those platforms, and you'll find us. And or you could email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. A random person who gets the answer correct will receive a Dynamic Duel no prize. And if you do write us in with the correct answer, go ahead and let us know who your favorite characters are, who your favorite Marvel and DC characters are.
Yeah.
So, look forward to that hint later on in this episode. And with that, let's get into the news.
Yeah.
So, this is...
Again, this is not good news.
This is done. If you're already in a depressed mood...
Awesome.
Maybe skip ahead a few minutes, because...
No, this is totally for you if you're in that mood. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. This is tragic news.
It is. It's sad.
It's never... It's always just super tragic when someone dies during the filming of a movie. I don't think it's happened for Marvel or DC since I think somebody died filming The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
It was another stunt guy. And it just my heart goes out to all these stunt people and especially the victims of or the victim's family here. She was a Stuntwoman driver named S.J. Harris, and she was filming a stunt it was a motorcycle scene, and she hit a curb and flew off the bike and crashed through a window and died. What's super tragic is that apparently there are a lot of reports going around saying that this could have been prevented. Basically, there
was a big Hollywood Reporter article about, they talked with people, the stunt coordinators,
yes,
essentially, and they were saying how they totally saw something like this coming, but the producers just kind of ignored those concerns.
Yes, because she was a professional motorcycle rider, but she was not a stunt performer for movies. This was actually her very first stunt on a film, first take.
Yeah.
And during their rehearsals, I guess a lot of the stunt coordinators noticed that she wasn't handling the stunt very well, and they were concerned for her safety. They brought it up with the producers of the film, who neglected it, and basically their worst fears came true.
Yeah. The producers liked having her as a stunt performer because she was a gender and race match, which to me is kind of for Zazie Beetz, who plays Domino, which is kind of a stupid reason, because I'm sure there's been tons of films in the past where stunt performers have dressed up as women and we've never even known about it.
Right.
Or they were a different race. It doesn't. When you're doing quick action work, why does it matter? It shouldn't matter as much, right. I think.
Yeah, it kind of highlights a somewhat a lack of diversity among the stunt teams, because S.J. Harris was actually the second driver that they hired for this role. They hired another black motorcycle rider woman to do this stunt, but she couldn't do it as well. So they fired her and then brought on S.J. Harris. So there apparently is a lack of African American female stunt motorcycle riders. And I think I agree with this. Like in this case where special effects are at, even nowadays, you could have bypassed this whole thing.
Yeah.
By not necessarily worrying about that and making sure, putting safety as the top priority when it comes to stunt work.
Yeah. Or even CG. I mean,
yeah.
Nowadays, like things that are dangerous, have them, I don't understand how something like this still happens in this day and age when we have, safety wires and CG and, I don't know.
Yeah. And if there wasn't already a lot of focus on performer safety before, there certainly will be now.
Yeah.
Sorry, my throat was getting dry. So what the stunt was basically was that she was supposed to exit a building, go down a ramp of 3 stairs, and then there was like a middle landing before there were more stairs. So what the stunt was going to be is come out of the building, go down the ramp of 3 stairs, and make a hard stop on that landing. But instead what happened is she lost control, I think, of the motorcycle. She went down the 3 stairs and she didn't stop. She went down a subsequent ramp that was 6 stairs long. She went into the street, went across the street, and hit the curb, and then went into the building on the other side of the street. No idea what happened. But it's really unfortunate for things like this, for the not just the films, but especially the families.
It's tragic.
And the crew.
It's super tragic.
Yeah, I know Zazie Beetz has made a few statements saying that she was really broken up about it too, and it really is. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, hopefully this does lead to more regulations and more
sanctions,
and stuff down the road, just to make these films safer, so that people don't lose their lives making funny movies, funny superhero films.
Do you think it'll have any effect on the Deadpool film?
No.
I hope they at least do a dedication.
Yeah, I think they definitely
during the
will.
credits.
Yeah,
that'd be nice. So, all right, on to more bad news or weird news.
Not as bad news. Like in comparison, like it's trivial comparatively to someone's life.
Yeah.
But okay, so. And if you spin it the correct way, this isn't terrible news at all, perhaps.
Oh, I won't be spinning anything good.
So the Warner Brothers apparently is developing
this is the no spin zone.
A Joker origin story film. Jared Leto.
You always say Jared Leto.
I know. I don't know why I do that. Jared Leto is not going to star. It's set to be outside the DCU under this new sort of DC film label.
Yeah, that's super weird to me. Because the way I initially understood it was that this is kind of going to be how they're doing the Han Solo prequel, how they recast Harrison Ford with a younger actor to do a story that takes place earlier
but that's
in
still
the Star Wars universe.
That's still in universe though,
Yes. Yeah, and that was the whole question. When they brought up this new label, it makes it seem like it's Elseworlds. They're going to start doing all these Elseworld stories. And I'm like, don't do that. I mean, Flashpoint is probably as Elseworlds as you want to get at this point. Have an established cinematic universe before you start going into the alternate universes.
Okay, so if you're not familiar with Elseworlds, DC has a number of comic series lines that sort of allow them to play loose with continuity and tell stories that you wouldn't normally be able to tell otherwise. So that includes lines such as Elseworlds. They also have All-Star. They have a Year or Earth 1. What else do they have? They have a number of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of my favorite stories actually come from these lines.
Like Injustice.
Like Kingdom Come. So
Red Sun is one.
This allows you to tell stories that you couldn't normally tell, like Red Sun, like Red Rain.
Right.
The Batman vampire story.
Right. But they are offshoots of
they're definitely offshoots. And one of the reasons I could appreciate those stories is because I know what the prime core universe is like. Those stories are well established, and being able to play off of those,
off the established continuity.
Off the established continuity. When you have an Elseworld story of the Waynes finding Clark Kent's spaceship or Kal-El's spaceship and then raising him, and then Kal-El witnessing the death of his parents and him becoming a Batman, that's really special because that same thing happened to Bruce Wayne. You understand the context.
Right.
If you don't have that context of like this core universe, it's not going to make the other stories as special. Kingdom Come is my favorite DC story of all time because it essentially is a possible future of what the core universe could be. So part of me is super excited that they get to tell these stories. If they get to tell a Kingdom Come story, this is not bad news at all to me. But it all depends on what they're going to do. So far, we only know of this Joker film. And it's troubling not only because, it's set of the DCU, but also because I don't want a Joker origin story.
Right. His origin is supposed to be vague.
He's supposed to be like this really scary character.
Yeah.
And the thing is once you like shed some light on something that's horrifying, it becomes less scary because you were more afraid of what's unknown.
And Joker should be scary.
Yeah, and I loved it in The Dark Knight when he gave different versions of his origin. Yeah. Of his wife was disfigured or his dad beat him and stuff like that. That was so sinister and twisted because he was lying.
Yeah.
About these like really dark things.
Yeah.
And he was like it was a joke to him. So I don't. The only way this works for me. Because I do like the director and the producer they have attached. It's Todd Phillips and Martin Scorsese, which, holy shit, Martin Scorsese is producing this. That is fucking fantastic news. I wish this was in DCU continuity. No, I don't. I don't know. I'm so confused over this.
Here's the thing. If it is, like my theory, where it is in DCEU continuity and it's just a prequel set in a different, they're saying it's going to be set in the early 80s.
But they're also saying it's not DCEU continuity.
See but that's where they're not quite clear. Like they're saying when they say it's not DCEU continuity, are they saying that it's not that it's not part of the continuity of the existing films, or are they saying that it's not part of the timeline that we're currently at?
I think it's outside because Wonder Woman set up that timeline. If this is in the 80s, then that's well within the established timeline after Wonder Woman. There's already this definitive timeline that is being set up by that film. And they keep talking about a new label. I think if it's not going to be called Elseworlds, it's probably going to be called All Star or something like that.
DC extended universe.
I don't know, maybe. But the only way this works, in my opinion, is if you do a Kaiser Soze, where the whole film you think you're learning the story of the Joker, and then
it turns out it's just a guy named the Smoker or something like that. It
turns out it completely subverts your expectations. There's a twist, essentially.
And then he gets killed by the real Joker.
Who
is Jared Leto.
You're coming with terrible ideas. I don't want your ideas.
It's a horrible idea, but it would be funny.
But that's the only way I think it would work, because I don't, again, want an origin story for the Joker. I want you to make me think I'm witnessing the birth of the Joker. Oh,
that's what you meant by that.
Yeah.
Okay. Like a Kaiser Soze, where he's telling his origin story and then it turns out to be false.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that
would be cool. The Joker usual suspects.
Exactly.
That would be fascinating.
That's the only way this works for me, because I don't want to.
If that's the only way it works, you just gave away the twist. Way to go. You blew it for everybody.
No, I mean, and I guess you could say that the Killing Joke is sort of a Joker origin story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just know that I never really cared for the Killing Joke's origin story, you know?
Yeah. Well, we know the DC television shows on the CW and other networks, whatnot. I think they're just on CW now. Oh, no, there's Fox. So all those stories take place in an alternate universe to the movies.
Right.
They call it the multiverse.
They don't officially call it that, but I think Jeff Johns has used that word, but not like in any kind of official title capacity.
Do you want to see a multiverse that exists within the genre of film? What do you think of that concept for film? Is that confusing to audiences? If you have
super confusing to audiences. But then again, I mean, DC has had so many Batman films and so many Batman actors,
but not simultaneously.
Not simultaneously. Yeah.
Because leaning into the next little bit, there is a Joker and Harley Quinn film in development as well.
Yeah.
And that's gonna have Jared Leto and Margot Robbie, and it's possibly gonna be called Mad Love.
Yeah, it's from the directors of Crazy Stupid Love, Glenn Ficarra and John Requa, or Requa. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm not familiar, honestly, with any of their stuff. But from what I've seen, people tend to. It's not horrible stuff.
I mean, they did a Focus with Will Smith and Margot Robbie.
Okay, I did see that. That's right.
And that was a pretty good movie.
That was good.
I never saw Crazy Stupid Love. I heard it was okay. I don't know.
And, you know, so, like, there was rumors earlier this week saying that, you know, people were wondering, oh, they're making another Harley Quinn film. Well, what happened to Gotham City Sirens? And then, you know, the trades were saying that, oh, that's off the shelves. David Ayer's relationship with Warner Brothers is no longer a thing.
Good.
But then today they came out with the news saying that, no, this Mad Love movie, if that's what it will be called, is actually going to precede Gotham City Sirens. Mad Love is essentially, spoiler alert, going to be the story of how the Joker and Harley break up, so that she can go on to hang out with these cool hot chicks in this new super team, Gotham City Sirens.
Poison Ivy and
Catwoman.
Allegedly.
Which makes sense. You're not rushing things, I think. If you're going to lead up to Gotham City Sirens, definitely with the way you left Suicide Squad, because you rewrote that whole thing. That was supposed to be where she, like, sort of separates herself from the Joker. But that's
right, because they had a much different relationship in the early cuts of that film.
Yeah.
They did reshoots to make the Joker and Harley Quinn relationship less abusive and more romantic.
Right.
Yeah, so she was supposed to break away at the end of that film, and that could have gone easily into Gotham City Sirens. But now they have this Mad Love movie that seems to be serving that purpose.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what you want to see. I don't know. Like, I know if you listen to our...
it's like, this could be bad news, or it could be good news.
If you listen to our Suicide Squad review, you and I had huge issues with the Harley Quinn Joker relationship.
Yes.
That was the way it was depicted in that
film.
The
Joker should not be loving. The Joker does not care for anyone other than Batman.
Yeah.
You know? So the fact that they had this romantic relationship in Suicide Squad, so much so that he goes out of his way to save her and stuff like that, she is not his girlfriend. Like, she sees him that way. She follows him.
Yeah.
But he could care less about her.
And it kind of sold
her
story short because she's this super tragic figure.
Yeah. Super tragic.
Yeah.
And it made it less so. It made her character less interesting, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know there's a lot of people who probably would really hate the idea of this idea of this abused woman in film. But that's also the character.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it serves an arc. Like, she eventually breaks away from him.
It's a redemptive story.
And it's satisfying in that regard.
Yeah.
So, you know, no, it's not satisfying to see this abusive relationship between Joker and Harley Quinn, but it is satisfying when that abusive relationship ends.
Yeah, I don't want to be happy with the Joker being in love. Because the Joker is supposed to be like this almost primal force.
It's like the equivalent of having, like, Jessica Jones fall in love with Kilgrave in the Jessica Jones series.
Right. Exactly. Don't
because their relationship is similar.
That's twisted.
Yeah. Super twisted. The other, I guess, little bit of bad news for WB is that the Justice League Dark movie is back to square one. they had 2 directors make pitches for the film, and I guess they were underwhelming. So they're going back to start the script over, I guess.
My good gosh. Please go back to Guillermo del Toro.
That would be awesome. Like,
why?
If it went full circle.
Yeah.
They got the guy who wrote Prometheus and Doctor Strange, or he did, I guess, drafts on those movies, John Spates.
Yeah.
Apparently, they tapped him to work on the Justice League Dark script, which is good.
Which kind of bothers me. What? I don't know if that's good. Just because, like, I didn't care for Prometheus, and I don't want him to sort of approach the magic of DC the same way he approached the magic of Doctor Strange.
That's not a given. Apparently, he wrote a draft of Prometheus that was rewritten to be worse. A lot of people have read John Spates' version of the Prometheus script online and said that it was even better.
Oh, that's encouraging. I didn't know that.
He also did the story treatment, not the screenplay or the script, for the Mummy, the new Mummy movie. So I heard that was okay. I heard it wasn't bad, but the fact that he has this experience in these sort of like supernatural
occult kind of
films, I think that's good news. I think he has it seems like the right flavor for this type of film.
It makes sense why they would approach him with something like this.
Yeah,
given his background of the films he's worked on. But seriously, just go back to Guillermo del Toro's script, have him work it into the DCEU.
Maybe not his script.
The DC Films universe.
Like it, but just get him as a director of the film.
Absolutely. I want to see... Ron Perlman's not going to be Hellboy anymore, people. Let's get him to be Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Get him to be Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
You want a home run? Make Ron Perlman Swamp Thing. Oh my gosh. Just do that.
And Ewan McGregor, make him Constantine.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
No. Or in Bruges guy. He was Bullseye. What's his name? Colin Farrell. He would make a good Constantine.
Well, those were early rumors, right?
Right.
But no, like, if you want some goodwill, Warner Brothers, because, like, all this, like, you know, people love posting bad news about your films, make Ron Perlman Swamp Thing, and there you go. You're set for the rest of the year.
And Guillermo del Toro, the director.
And the Guillermo del Toro director, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Was that English what you just did right there?
I don't know. I just mumbled. I don't know about Ewan McGregor.
All right, Jonathan.
What?
Do you want to keep this bad news train rolling?
Let's do it!
Woohoo! Let's do it! All right. IMAX shortens the theatrical run of the Inhumans. It was supposed to be in theaters for 2 weeks.
Now it's only one.
And now it's only one because apparently it sucks.
Yeah.
Apparently. The way I like to think of it is that maybe it doesn't suck and maybe they just put it in IMAX for 1 week to try to, like, you know, get fanboy hearts beating, thinking that that I need to go see it. I have even less time to go see it. So they're like, by shortening the supply, you increase the demand, right?
I suppose.
Right?
Fans who were like, I may catch it, and now like, oh shit, I only have 1 week to catch it.
Yeah. You may not procrastinate.
I already have my tickets.
I'm
not looking forward to it, like, at all.
I listened to some cast interviews, and the guy who plays Black Bolt, I can't remember his name. I'll have to show you the interview. He gets that character. Whether that translates to the screen,
that translates to the script. Does the writer get the character?
Does the writer get the character? Right, exactly. But the guy who plays Anson Mount or something like that. Anson Mount.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
The way he gave his answers, I was like, hire this guy to play Black Bolt, which they did. I'm optimistic.
I've seen some new photos of Medusa, and her hair does not look terrible. I think they CG'd some of that.
They may have CG'd it. She may have just been having a bad wig day the day they shot those photos
or
for
those
Entertainment
trailers.
Weekly.
I don't know. But no, like, these are stills.
Yeah.
And like, I thought her wig still looked bad in like the trailers that they've released. But I don't know, these photos look pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It looks like real hair.
The first promotional material that came out for this Inhumans series was abysmal. It has slowly been getting better ever since then, to the point where even like with the release of these latest IMAX posters, these film posters, like these character posters, they're really well done. I think they look exciting to me.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean,
like, if they had started off the marketing like this, I would have lost my shit. I'd be losing my shit right now.
This kind of reminds me of like Suicide Squad, because I remember the first photo that they released.
Oh yeah, that was horrible.
Like no one liked that. Everyone thought it was horrible. It was like dark and grungy, and the character designs looked really different and
with
weird.
With the Joker and
yeah.
And then the marketing started getting better.
And yeah, it was like a fantastic marketing.
And then we all know how that film turned out. Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I mean, we're gonna review it in our next episode, the IMAX special. When I bought my tickets, I went onto the Inhumans Facebook page to like be like, "Hey, I bought my tickets! Yay! Woot!" And I was reading some of the comments of the post that they had done.
Don't read Facebook comments. Never read. It's like they're almost as bad as YouTube comments.
The Inhumans Facebook page made a post saying that tickets are now for sale. And any comment that anybody made to that, there was this guy who was like, "Don't buy tickets. It's they're cutting out like however many minutes of footage from the version that will show on TV later on in the month."
Yeah.
He was like, "Just save your money and wait until the end of the month to see it." And then he actually convinced a lot of people.
It's kind of true.
It is true. And honestly, I didn't respond because I have no argument to that. It's true. What you're seeing on the big screen, it's a trade-off. Yeah, you're seeing it bigger and you're seeing it the way it was meant to be seen, but you're also seeing
less of it.
An incomplete version of it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just they dropped the ball on how they set this whole thing up. I was super excited about the concept of debuting a superhero television series on the big screen.
Yeah.
That's something I want to see more of, honestly, but not the way it was executed here.
Yeah, they dropped the ball, for sure.
And hopefully it's good. We'll see. We'll talk about it next episode.
We'll find out in how many days? A week?
A week.
Less than a week.
September. I got my tickets for August 31st. So here's hoping. Cross your fingers. You too, listeners. You cross your fingers. If everybody crosses their fingers, this will turn out all right. But you got to cross your fingers, unless you're driving. All right. And that brings us to our last news item, the Punisher Netflix teaser.
Yeah, this was tacked on at the end of the Defenders series.
Yes. And
it's sort of, like their after credits scene.
Yeah, it was only about a minute long. It kind of reminds me of a Ford truck commercial because Punisher spends most of it taking a sledgehammer to some concrete, I think. Which I think it might be. I think I've seen imagery like this before. I think it was done in John Wick. That's where he housed his armory, which under some concrete, and he broke into it. I can't remember if I've seen it before that too, but I did get a little bit of a vibe from the same vibe that I got from the first Punisher theatrical film with Thomas Jane in 2004, where after he kills Howard Saint, he explodes a bunch of cars, and the flames of the cars formed the Punisher skull emblem.
Yeah.
And it was so ridiculous and over the top. It's like, why would he do that? Is he advertising to because nobody around the scene would be able to perceive that it was the Punisher skull. So it must be to only people who are flying overhead.
Yeah.
It was a stupid idea. And him hammering the ground with a sledgehammer, and then it creates the Punisher skull emblem. Yeah. It's so ridiculous.
That last shot where it's just the Punisher skull emblem with the hammer next to it. My first reaction was oh, he's an artiste.
He's a sculptor. That being said, the tone of the footage is wildly different from that silly little moment.
I hope this is the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Because there are parts in Daredevil, like especially season 1,
the prison. No, not season 1, season 2.
Well. Yeah, I was gonna say season 1, parts of Daredevil season 1 that were super dark, when the guy killed himself by ramming his head into that sharp object, and then there was just the Kingpin decapitating a dude with a car door. Yeah. I want this should be that dark.
Because the thing about the Punisher is even in the comics, he's not a good guy. He's an anti-hero. He does some things that's you almost have to laugh because it's just so horrible that you're just I can't believe he just threw a guy off the Empire State Building kind of.
He's a bad guy, but he only does bad things to bad guys.
Yeah.
Does that make you a good guy?
No.
He's an anti-hero, yeah.
Yeah, just because of how ruthless he is. Like, he's not just going to run over a bad guy. He's going to hit reverse and back up over the bad guy and keep going over and over again until the guy's like just nothing, until he's nothing, you know?
Yeah.
It's just over the top. And I remember reading an article where the actor, John Bernthal, was, he was making sure that the producers of the show didn't make Frank Castle come out to be a good guy, which I think is perfect. He knows the character. And that's the Punisher I want to see. I also want to see the Punisher wearing the skull in the trench coat. I feel like we don't see that enough. I feel like,
it was at the end of this preview, but it wasn't a lot in the random shots, although we only get quick flashes of what the content of the series is.
Yeah.
We do see that some of it takes place during his military days.
Yes, yeah.
Which is great. So if they go over like the Punisher Max, the Punisher Born story arc, where he starts becoming this slight vigilante character, like he's during his time in Vietnam,
right?
I think that'd be fantastic.
Although
he's not going to be in Vietnam.
He's not going to be in Vietnam.
They've already established that he was like a Desert Storm guy, I believe. So.
Yeah. It makes me look forward to it. As cheesy as it was that he was sledgehammering a skull, the tone, you're absolutely right, was definitely set. I'm totally looking forward to this. It's coming out this year, right? Has there been an official release?
There has not been an official release date yet. They just keep saying 2017, and we're already in August. I'm assuming it's going to come around the end of November or the beginning of December, but you would think that we would have already heard that by now.
With my luck, it's going to come out like the Tuesday before Justice League.
That's what I'm thinking they're going to do.
What a bunch of fuckers.
That's totally something that they would do, because they did that with Daredevil and Batman vs. Superman.
Yes. And they did that with something else, too. What was it? I forget.
Yeah, I can't remember either. I think it was with Iron Fist and... No, it was it with Iron Fist and Wonder Woman? No, it wasn't, because that was in June. Anyway, it's something that they would do, and they would kind of hold off onto it just so that they seemed less, like assholes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if that ends up happening, what we would do is we would review Justice League first, and then review Punisher after that.
Yeah.
We would still give each one its own review episode. So.
Yeah.
So that does it for the news. So let's go into the review.
Wait, no.
The Defenders.
I forgot to add something to the list.
You just ruined my perfect transition from the Punisher into the Defenders. What are you talking about?
I totally forgot. Starfire was cast in the Titans series.
Oh, yeah, we should probably talk about that, huh?
Dan, I'm sorry.
You blew it.
I did. Okay. So what? Anna Diop.
I don't know.
Diop. Has been cast as Starfire in the Titans series, which is set for DC's their new streaming app for next year.
Yeah, that's gonna be really awesome.
We talked about the casting of Raven, which is Tegan Croft, but the Anna Diop, I'm not really familiar with her. She was in 24 Legacy, Quantico.
She is gorgeous.
It's really good casting because she is fine as hell.
And Starfire is supposed to be.
Starfire is supposed to be really tall. I think we mentioned that in our last recording. And this Anna, she has legs for days.
She does.
It's crazy.
What's interesting though is that she looks much older than Raven.
Yeah,
Raven.
That's still a concern of mine.
She's the actress that's playing Raven. What's her name again?
Tegan Croft.
Yeah, she's only 13 years old.
Yeah.
So, and then you have this actress, what's her name?
Anna Diop,
who looks like she's in her mid-20s, maybe late 20s.
In her 20s, definitely.
Early 20s? I don't know. I'm bad with ages around that time.
I think if she was cast in her early 20s, she could pull it off. But she's probably in her mid-20s. I don't know. I thought Margot Robbie was older than she was. And she's only freaking 23. It's ridiculous.
Really? Margot Robbie? I'm so old.
I know. Why?
Damn it. So
I think she's 25 or something like that.
And Nightwing is probably going to be around this age too, mid-20s.
Yeah, because there's probably going to be a romantic relationship.
I wonder how old Beast Boy is going to be. Is this going to feel more less of a team? What's the dynamic going to be?
It almost seems like a family, huh?
Typically, yeah, exactly. Typically, the Titans team, they're all around the same age,
Yeah. It's the teen Titans.
So they feel like peers. I'm hoping this doesn't have any kind of father, daughter, mother, son dynamic.
Well, I mean, yeah, that brings up an interesting point, is because this show is specifically titled Titans, not the Teen Titans.
Right.
And I don't know if it's to distance itself from like Teen Titans Go that's currently on right now or something, but it is interesting that the age differences. You're definitely going to have a mother-daughter relationship between Starfire and Raven. I mean, just with the age difference, how could you not have that?
Unless they could somehow sell Raven as some kind of like old soul or something, or someone who like acts much more mature.
Yeah, for all we know, like she could be like 3,000 years old or something like that. You know,
is that possible? I don't know Raven's backstory, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, she's the daughter of this demon Trigon. I'm not actually sure how old she is. That's a good question.
In the comics?
My knowledge gap is showing. Ew. But no, I mean...
Fake fan. You don't even know how old Raven is.
For all I know, if they wanted to, they could say that she is in this series,
Yeah.
So...
Okay.
Fuck, how old is Raven?
We'll have to look that up.
Figure it out now.
All right. Well, I think that does it for the news. Way to ruin my perfect transition from Punisher into Defenders.
Yeah.
But now...
That's my bad.
Yeah. Let's get to the main event of the show. Defenders. Season 1. Let's review it. All right, time to review the Defenders. It's been a long time coming, ever since 2015 with Daredevil Season 1.
Yeah. It's like, I mean... It's always meant to be like the Avengers of these Netflix shows, but it literally was. Are there phases? Is this like the end of phase 1, I guess?
I don't think so. I don't think the television...
Like the Hand is like the overall arching phase 1 villain?
Possibly. I hope we move beyond the Hand in the subsequent series, in the subsequent seasons.
They left it open, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But... yeah, ever since that first Daredevil Season 1, I've been looking forward to it a lot. My expectations were super high, and for the most part, they were met. I think the show was a whole lot of fun. I think it was a great mashup of these worlds that were actually a little bit more... They were... the disparity between the shows was greater than what I had initially thought, and you don't realize that until you're watching the show and you're seeing how the worlds come together. It comes together in a truly satisfying way, I think. I think they nailed the character motivations. I think they really nailed the interactions between the characters. It felt very believable and credible. The action was fantastic.
It was so much better than Iron Fist 3. My expectations for this show weren't that high. And I think, it's not that much more difficult to be better than Iron Fist. But I think, it definitely was. I definitely liked this show. I definitely enjoyed the series.
It's nice because, series like Daredevil and Jessica Jones were so good. And Luke Cage and Iron Fist, not so much, but it was a good lead-in because it set your expectations low, so that they would be surpassed or at least met with this Defenders show. I think if the Defenders came right after Daredevil Season 1 or 2 or whatever, it would have felt like a step down. But this definitely feels like a step back up. I think the Marvel Netflix shows are, back on top. Really happy with the result that they came out with. Especially... I really enjoyed the 8-episode season as opposed to the 13-episode season.
Yeah.
I don't know if this would have been as successful with 13 episodes.
The pacing was great.
There wasn't a time at all where I felt like, oh, this was a wasted episode.
Right.
There were some scenes where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is maybe a padded scene, but there was only they were far and few between.
Yeah.
Like maybe like
it was
3
very rare
in the whole season. So that was good. Really liked that. It's definitely the most fun of the Marvel Netflix shows so far, and that's something that we haven't really seen. Like the previous shows have been really serious and true to their themes. This one didn't have like a real deep theme, basically. Not one at least that resonated. Like,
teamwork, I guess.
Yeah, like maybe with the Hand there was like the fear of death, and with the Defenders it was like overcoming yourself to become sort of part of something larger. But they kind of got that out of the way real quick. It didn't take that long.
Yeah.
So plot synopsis. What is the show about?
it was to me it was essentially about, when they said early on, like in news stories talking about, the lead up to Defenders, and when they said that Iron Fist was going to be like, the key to bringing the group together, like he was the literal key to bringing the group together.
Right.
So to me that, the synopsis for the show, if I just like told someone about it, like, oh, what is the show about? It's about, it's really about 3 superheroes coming to protect another superhero from an evil organization trying to destroy New York and live forever.
Yeah, trying to destroy New York City in their quest for immortality. Basically. The overall plot, I think, was slightly more shallow than the individual series.
Yeah,
certainly the most extravagant.
Yeah.
But not in a horrible way necessarily. It just wasn't as deep.
It worked.
It felt more like a superhero show than, say, any of the other ones, like Daredevil Season 1, which was very much a crime drama that just happened to have a superhero in it. This wasn't that. This wasn't a crime drama. This was a superhero show.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and that's not a bad thing.
Not when it's well done. Not when it's well done. And this was well done.
The only place I think where this dropped the ball is, well, it's not the only place, but the key ball that was dropped was the villain. If you're gonna have a show that is strictly a superhero show, you got to match it up with a villain. Probably, I wanted this villain to be on the same level as Kingpin or Killgrave.
Absolutely.
And Alexandra wasn't, essentially. But we'll get into her.
Did you say Alexander or Alexandra?
Alexandra?
Yeah, Alexandra.
Alexandra wasn't. And we'll get into her as we go through the characters. So let's do that. Let's go through the characters and their performances and what you thought of them.
We're starting off with Daredevil.
Obviously got to start off with Daredevil and Matt Murdock. I think Charlie Cox stood out as the best actor and probably the best character of the entire show. That guy, it must be really hard to not be able to focus your eyes when you're acting, just seeing the way he moves around the set and looks at things, and the way he emotes, the way he shows his emotions without focusing his eyes on anything. That's got to be such a huge challenge, but he does it so well. Yeah, he's pitch perfect in his portrayal of Matt Murdock. I'd consider him among like the top tier of some of the best superhero castings of all time. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't think there's many actors that could do what he can do. So there was like a scene early on where we see him give the closing arguments in a trial that he's doing, and that was like a cool one take setup. It was beautiful, and we see him like give like his sage advice to the handicapped kid. Yeah, that was a great scene. His performance is just so good. I also love his confessional scenes, like how he showed how Elektra's death really affected him. And all of that just like made me really wish that I was watching Daredevil Season 3. Like I can't wait for Daredevil Season 3. As good as this show was, it wasn't as good as Daredevil Season 2. Right, and it wasn't as good as Daredevil Season 1 either. So that show is awesome. It's so good. Yeah. So as far as like motivations go, I thought they were pretty good. Like he wants to save the city. He knows like what his duty is. He knows he needs to fight the Hand, but he wants to do it his way. He was the most reluctant one to join the team. Yeah. Well, except for Jessica Jones. Maybe, I guess. But he wants to do it his way, which is less amoral than Stick's way. He's never wanted to go along with Stick, and he knows how dangerous the Hand is from his experience with them in Daredevil Season 2, and Elektra's death. He doesn't want others to get hurt. Or maybe he doesn't trust them enough not to get hurt the same way Elektra did. So those are his motivations for the show and for why he joined the team and everything like that. And I think they were palpable. They were good. They were credible. I liked them. Yeah. What about Jessica Jones? Jessica Jones, like her cynicism kind of annoyed me. Kind of like, dude, it's like you come from a world where like a guy could control people with his voice. About the Avengers and a team that has Norse gods and green monsters in it, Right. Yet the idea of like resurrected ninjas seems strange to you. I hated that too. But during that's how she started. During the course of the show, it was nice to see her cynicism kind of melt away as she like realizes that working with these guys is like the right thing to do, and probably her only and best option. She comes to like trust them and work with them, and maybe even willing to die alongside them.
She did have like an arc, where she kind of grew out of her shell a little bit.
Yes,
I think she's still healing from the whole Kilgrave thing.
Yeah, and that was apparent from the beginning when she she starts off in the bar.
Yeah,
and really she ended at the
bar.
And
she ended up at the bar too, but there was like hope at the end.
Right.
Where she asks about the coffee, and it's like, hey, whoa, he has a thing. It's okay. He's good. And the girlfriend.
But it was nice because they kind of sowed the seeds there a little bit, showing that she's still interested in him. There's still potential for them to come together and make babies.
Which is gonna happen.
Happen
in the comics.
Right. Luke Cage, I really was a real fan of him. He was like the heart of the team to me. Like, he was certainly the most moral figure, which really came into play during the whole, like, do we blow up the building debate?
Yeah.
And he starts off the story, leaving the prison. He goes back to Harlem, and he just wants to help others. And though he wasn't really excited to join the team, that was more out of, like, skepticism about the story. But morally, he was steadfast in why he got involved, and he remained that resolute until the very end of the series. And he really seemed like the team's moral foundation.
He's their rock.
He's their rock. And he was cynical too. And he kind of made fun of Iron Fist a little bit and everything. But that was funny. They have a good dynamic.
That's a good relationship. Like them, ragging each other and stuff like that. I mean, those two have they end up becoming best friends. So it's kind of interesting to see the start of that relationship.
Yeah, because Luke, initially they kind of clashed, but he gradually opened up to the stories of the Hand and Danny's dragon tales and stuff like that. I think that he had a little bit of arc too. I can't wait for Heroes for Hire. I still really wish they would combine Luke Cage and Iron Fist season 2 into one show, because those dudes.
I don't want to see them apart. It's honestly going to be really hard. Maybe not for Daredevil, but it's really going to be hard to see another season of Jessica Jones without Luke Cage and another season of Iron Fist without Luke Cage, because he seems like a really good and important player in their stories.
Yeah, I have a theory on why the next season of Iron Fist is going to be just him, though, and we'll go into that later towards the end. And we'll see what you think about that. Iron Fist, he's 5,000,000% better in this show than he was in his own show.
It helps that he has a better haircut.
Yes.
It's one of the things.
Yeah, the hair actually did influence my opinion on him. It didn't look like a bunch of ramen noodles on his head. In the beginning, I was really on his side. I think I identified a lot with him when they first joined up, because he seemed like the most excited by the prospect of teaming up. And I'm like, yeah, you guys should team up. And everybody was like, I don't want to. I'm like, you assholes. But that's really what I wanted to see. And his motivation was he saw the Hand as a kind of adventure. And also he feels lost and guilty about the disappearance of Kunlun.
Yeah.
And he sees it as his duty to fight the Hand and maybe figure out what happened, and maybe even form a new family along the way. But I have to say, toward the end of the show, he was just a fucking dumbass. He was making foolish decisions, thinking more with his fists and less with his brain.
I actually liked him more at the end than I did at the beginning. At the beginning, he really annoyed me because I felt like Colleen Wing was more active. She had more agency than he did at the very beginning of the show. The first 2 episodes, she was the one who was like, hey, yeah, we got to stop the Hand and let's go fight them. And even when they were hiding, when they were cleaning up the bodies of the chased, she was the one who sort of wanted to initiate that fight. And he was just along for the ride.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. Yeah, he was a little bit iffy in the beginning. He was better in the middle, and then towards the end, with things trying to fight the other defenders to keep him from hiding him away, and fighting Elektra with the Iron Fist, where she manipulates him into opening the door. Those were stupid boneheaded moves. And
it's what was him, the African finger of the fist, Sawande. He was like, you're the dumbest Iron Fist ever. I was like, yeah, he kind of is.
Yeah, he kind of is. They make him out to be such a dummy, this live action version of the character, and he's not that way in the comics. Yeah. What I really want to see in the next season of Iron Fist is some maturity, a more mature Denny Rand. I think the Daredevil's sacrifice or a parent sacrifice.
Really inspired him.
Really inspired him. Like I want him to really see him take up the responsibility to protect the city and everything. Although I don't want that to be the story of the next season, him protecting Hell's Kitchen. I want it to go to Kunlun. And maybe that's where like they teach him everything else about the Iron Fist and even give him
show some dragons. Holy shit! Like go Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and give him his traditional garb, with the mask and everything like that. Maybe that's where he gets the outfit. Yeah. Because at the end of the show, he's he has his tracksuit and he's on the rooftop and I think my first instinct was like, why the hell didn't you show him wearing the mask? Because he has most of his costume on right there, but he doesn't have the mask. And it would have been easy to rationalize in that he put the mask on because he was inspired by Daredevil.
Yeah.
And that would have been a perfect moment. But another part of me thinks is they might be saving the whole costume thing for when he returns to Kunlun and we get to see Kunlun and we get to see him learn how to do everything else that an Iron Fist could do, and we see him don the traditional Iron Fist mask, like what the I think it was Orson Randall.
I think that would be a better way to get him in the mask than maybe just have it tack on at the end of the series, just sort of cheaply like that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily cheaply because you could understand why it would happen. There was definitely rationale, but maybe save it. Maybe the tracksuit was enough because it was cool that he was wearing like a green like jacket with like a yellow stripe. I noticed that and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did like that, but he was just better in this show overall. And overall all their motivations were good. Jessica Jones though, like I think about hers. I don't think her motivations were the weakest, but I actually appreciated them because really her motivations for joining the team were primarily brought about by her selflessness and wanting to protect not necessarily the city overall,
but family.
A family that she had kind of come to care for. Like you could tell she cares about her clients and stuff like that.
She related to the asshole daughter.
Yeah, kind of. So Alexandra, probably the biggest issue with this series. I bought Sigourney Weaver as like this classy ancient intellectual figure. Like she was smart and stuff, but I don't buy her as menacing at all. Like definitely not like how Kingpin or Kilgrave were.
I know when like Elektra tried to attack her and like she was doing like these slow motion like judo moves. I was like, fuck off.
Yeah, she definitely pulled a Iron Fist season 1 right there.
Yeah, but I mean, even with like the whole like classy ancient thing, like that was like fucking annoying as hell to me. Like when she was
really
like,
trying to hammer it home.
Yeah, this was really good in Constantinople. Oh, I think you mean Istanbul. She's like, yeah, maybe I guess. Like, shut up. You know, if you're really so wise, you would know to fucking say Istanbul, dummy. Are you trying to like reveal that like it's just poor writing?
They kind of beat you over the head with it. Yeah. Like I think the major issue with the show was the lack of an imposing, effective villain because she wasn't that effective. No. I thought Sigourney Weaver. I thought she did okay with what she was given, but there really wasn't much for her to work with. Like she was just kind of limp and forgettable, honestly. And like her relationship with Elektra, that was kind of like her whole purpose of the show was just to have a relationship with Elektra.
Yeah.
But it was just strange. It was like I got weird vibes from it. It was like a mother-daughter, like maybe she wanted it to be a mother-daughter relationship, but if it was like if your mother was brainwashing you into a cult. And you also wanted to eat the skin off your face. Or, I don't know, I just got weird vibes. It was strange. But Elektra, I thought, was okay. I thought she was better than Alexandra. And Elektra
ended up supplanting her.
Yeah, supplanting her. Like, she kind of was the main villain, but I don't think she really counts as the main villain.
No.
Because we know that she is essentially on the side of good, even though we know from the Iron Fist show that the Hands of Resurrection process leaves you without a soul. Just like Harold Meacham.
Right.
But I think that lack of moral foundation without her soul that's what caused her to like kill Alexandra and act like how she was up until the very end when she was fighting
It was really hard to care about Alexandra when her real motivation was just to not die.
Yeah.
And then when her subordinates don't even respect her, like, how was I supposed to respect her as a villain or as any kind of credible threat, you know?
The moment where she died, it was like this part where like she was like gloating. She was like, "You need to respect me. I did this. I'm like, "Oh my god, somebody killed this bitch." And then it happened, but I was still surprised by it.
And you're like, I willed it.
I was like, did I will that into happening?
The other members of the fist or the hand. I thought it was cool. I like, is that in the comics where there's like 5 leaders of the hand?
No, I don't know if it was a retcon because of the disparity between the hand in the Iron Fist show and the hand in the Daredevil show.
Oh gosh, I hope it was.
But it made me like the hand more because that explanation, because like
there's 5 different versions of the hand.
It's like there's 5 leaders of it and they all run their own individual segments their own way.
Yeah.
So I wasn't as upset by how the hand was depicted in Iron Fist anymore.
Because in the comics when I think of the hand, I think of like these like zombie ninjas.
The demon ninjas that were in Daredevil season 2. And and we learned that those demon ninjas, they're part of the Murakami sect.
Right.
The Japanese guy.
The cool sect.
Yeah, that's the cool
Everything else
is
bullshit.
Yeah, everything else. They're mercenaries and they're not ninjas and it's all bullshit.
Yeah. I really still did not care for Bakudo.
Apparently he's like the South American, or at least
it's where each one comes from a different continent.
Yeah.
And the white person's still in charge. Fuck that.
Yeah. Murakami was like the Japanese sect and Sowande was the African sect. Bakudo was like this, I guess, South American, because they said he was coming up from South America.
Or South American branch.
Yao was like China or something.
She was like mainland China and well,
yeah, because she had that drug facility in the Iron Fist show in China. Mm-hmm. So, and then I guess Alexandra was America, I guess.
Yeah,
but going back to Elektra and her lack of soul, I thought it was cool because like she was like not evil, but she was malevolent until like the very end when she was fighting Matt, and then she kind of like turned. Like it was cool. It was almost like Daredevil was reasoning with her to try to help her find her soul again. I don't know if she ever will, but it was a good little scene, I thought.
I do have to say, it kind of like, you know, they were setting up Black Sky for 2 seasons of Daredevil, and it was kind of underwhelming. It's like, I still don't understand. Like, was Black Sky was supposed to like be the savior of the hand, or like this like weapon of the hand, and like
according to Alexandra, not everybody believed that.
That's true. Well, it just shows how more incompetent she was and how terrible a villain she was.
Yeah, that's true.
So dumb.
So like the Black Sky, as I understand it, it's like this supreme warrior that is born like once a generation. And Stick killed the one below Elektra in Daredevil season 1. Mm-hmm. But they still have Elektra, and so she was able to resurrect her and use her. And like Elektra got like powers, like she was like super strong. That was
I didn't notice
weird. That. Elektra, she was like super strong. She was
able to take out Luke Cage through. But I saw that more of just like expert martial arts than any kind of strength.
No amount of martial arts is going to make you punch Luke Cage across a room.
But it's not like when she punched Daredevil, he went flying across the room or anything like that.
That's true. It was slightly vague.
It was very vague.
But she was definitely more powerful. I liked her training scenes that she had when they first resurrected her, and like they would turn off the lights and turn it back on, and all the guys would be dead that she was training against. I thought that was pretty cool. But like essentially, Elektra is immortal now, right? Unless her head is chopped off.
I don't know.
Like Highlander, because that's how it was in Iron Fist. Harold Meacham, he was shot by his son, and then he came back from the dead. The only way you could kill Harold Meacham is by cutting off his head.
Well, then how did she kill Alexandra?
She did chop off her head. She stabbed her through the chest. Alexandra fell, and then Elektra cut off her head.
And Stick cut off the head of Sowande.
And Colleen cut the head off of Bakudo.
That's right.
But Gao...
I did not make all those decapitation connections. I should have. I'm just desensitized to decapitations, I guess.
Although, that's to say, why... If it's just decapitation, why is Alexandra dying? So my guess is that you could either die through decapitation, or you could live so long that your organs fail.
I guess. I mean, I did find it interesting that like the male fingers of the hand were so much younger than the female.
Not so much. Well, yeah, the female were definitely the older ones. Yeah, that's true. It was interesting that they were like elders of Kunlun that were like cast out due to their, selfish ambitions of immortality, using the magic incorrectly, basically.
Dragon blood or dragon essence.
Dragon bones, I guess. I'm assuming you like ground it up into a powder and then you put it in like a smoothie, and then
you put it up your butt.
No, but it was like black. I guess it was so they used the substance to resurrect Elektra, and they like poured it into like this like coffin thing.
Yeah,
I guess that's how it's worked, or how it works. What did you think of the supporting characters?
Like it was cool, kind of cool that they kind of got everyone, but then again,
all in the same spot, all interacting.
Yeah, like each of them had like two supporting characters. So like Daredevil had Foggy and Karen Page, who was kind of annoying to me in this one.
Well, there are some supporting characters that I liked more than others. Like Foggy and Karen, they were very much like, you should not be Daredevil.
Yeah,
and so that was annoying.
But Foggy's my boy.
At the end, he was.
He's the actor who plays him. He's a really cool actor. He's just a cool guy.
Yeah.
Karen Page was just a little bit too cryy.
Yeah.
Crybaby.
But people like Trish and Malcolm from Jessica Jones, like I liked them more, even though they had less to do. But I like them more because they actually like support Jessica Jones and want her to be,
who she is.
As opposed. But
you could say that Foggy did too, because he brought him his Daredevil suit.
Yeah, he kind of saved the day there. Yeah. As far as Matt's identity.
Yeah.
That was a cool moment. I was like, "You my boy, Foggy."
And then Luke Cage, he had
Claire
and Misty. Although Claire's kind of everyone's kind of, but more so Luke Cage's.
Yeah, nowadays, yeah.
Because they do the
Claire did not annoy me in this. No. In this series, she super annoyed me in Iron Fist.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Rosario Dawson was fantastic in this series.
I thought she was gonna die.
I thought she was going to too,
because I don't know. It just seemed like she was the. What's his
Coulson?
Agent Coulson, yeah.
Where she's in all the different franchises.
And she sort of like is the one like
the catalyst.
The catalyst that brings them all together to go into the final fight.
Yeah.
I guess I'm glad that they didn't meet it wasn't predictable, so that's good.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed that.
Misty was kind of annoying, but it was also true to character. She was doing her job. Really, she's frustrated with them because she's doing her job and they're not cooperating with her. So I see where she's coming from.
They're going outside her, the law.
Yeah. And she did kind of redeem herself in the end by stalling the authorities. And
I knew right when she stepped into that room, if Misty Knight goes in there and there's friggin' katanas being waved around, she's going to lose her arm.
Well, I had suspected that because we saw set photos of her getting injured and being carried away.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I still didn't really 100% believe it, that it was going to happen until it happened. Because we saw her almost lose her arm in the first season of Luke Cage. And I was like, oh, how come they didn't make her lose her arm,
Oh, when was that? I don't remember that.
It was during this episode when they're at the club, and she got shot in the arm, in her upper, just lower shoulder.
Okay.
And we thought she was going to lose the arm. But Claire was able to use her medicine on her.
That's right. So I guess Iron Fist is going to pay for her mechanical super arm.
Yeah, it's weird. In the comics, her arm is from Stark Enterprises.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in this one, it's going to be Danny Rand. It's weird that Danny Rand never mentions Tony Stark, and Tony Stark never mentions Danny Rand.
You think they'd be like rivals?
Yeah, kind of. But I'm really looking forward to see her having a bionic arm. Whether or not it's just going to be a standard prosthetic, or whether or not it's going to, do cool shit like it does in the comics, like mm-hmm. super strength or whatever, mm-hmm. It remains to be seen.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure. It seems like her and Colleen Wing are pretty. They sort of went out of their way to make them kind of buddy
towards in the last episode.
Yeah. And I guess
Daughters of the Dragon.
There's Colleen Wing. I guess that's really the only carryover besides Bakuto from Iron Fist.
Yeah, was Colleen.
And then, of course, Daredevil also, in addition to Foggy and Karen, had Stick and Electro. Stick was cool. Stick is always cool, though.
He is. He's so... amoral though.
Yeah.
But he is so hardcore. Like, oh, well.
I found it kind of weird that he was like sort of a follower of Iron Fist, yet he was so much like wiser and mature and put together than Danny Rand.
Yeah. Well, the Chaste is part of, they're the enemies of the Hand. They're part of Kunlun, apparently. And yeah, he's following him. But I don't know. He was just a badass. I don't think it was weird that he was following him. I was super surprised when like he was going to kill him. But it made, like, he's a very logical being. It's part of who his character is.
Yeah. Sad to see him go.
I was sad to see him go. He's such a great character. I hope they bring him back in some flashbacks somehow. But, yeah, I'll miss him. Maybe they'll resurrect him. Probably not.
I think he's done.
I think he's done?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Don't cheapen it by bringing him back,
Right, yeah.
I guess.
All right, so that's it for the characters. Let's go into a quick story breakdown. I'll go ahead and give a synopsis of the episode and just speak up whenever you want if you have something to say. So the first episode was the H word. So while hunting the Hand in Cambodia, Danny is told by one of the last surviving members of the Chaste to go to NYC where the real battle is. There, Jessica Jones takes on a missing persons case where she discovers the missing guy was stockpiling explosives.
Well, just the sewer scene, that was a good opening. It was a good cold open. I think all of these episodes had a cold open.
No, some led right into the other. Oh, you mean before the... Well, that's...
Before the opening title sequence.
All the Netflix shows do that.
I don't think all of them did that, because I remember some of them started with the opening the title sequence. And this one, I would have to say, is the least inspired of all the other Netflix
the musical
opening title sequence. Yeah. They really just used two different images,
stock images
of the characters, and
overlaid a map of New York.
Yeah, and that was it. That was it.
It was still cool. It was colorful though. I appreciated all the colors and.
No, I didn't care for it.
The music was okay. Yeah, it was definitely the weakest.
It's the weakest one for
sure.
Of all of them. I still really like Daredevil's and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage's.
Iron Fist was cool too.
It was cool. It was completely unrelated to the show though. I feel like
it was better than the show.
It was better than the show. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't like I was looking forward to the opening for this because I thought it was finally all of them together, and it kind of let me down.
Yeah. Luke Cage gets out of prison and learns about kids from Harlem taking on some shady work that is getting them killed. And Matt Murdock has given up being Daredevil out of guilt over Elektra and his friends, and Alexandra learns she's dying and speeds up a plan that involves digging deep underground in New York, which sets off a massive earthquake.
It was a really good first episode.
It was.
It set up all the characters, what they're doing now, in a really effective way.
I thought it did a good job of making each scene with the individual characters feel like the individual show that it came from. So the scenes with Matt Murdock felt like you were watching Daredevil, and the scenes with Luke Cage felt like you were watching Luke Cage, the Luke Cage show. His version of New York and his Harlem, they use a lot of warm colors on that. It's very yellow.
That was kind of jarring to me.
Yeah, but I eventually it all melded. It was jarring, but they were bringing people in from the individual shows. Jessica Jones' version of New York, it uses a lot of cool colors, a lot of blues,
it was
a lot of
winter,
purples.
and then when you went to Harlem, it was summer.
Yeah, it felt different, and all the scenes with Danny Rand were very earth toned and green,
when they were hiding from just spying on the all the Chaste when they died, it was all green.
And when they were in Colleen's dojo, it was all green.
And the sewer too.
And with Daredevil, when he was in Josie's bar with Foggy, everything was lit red. So there was
the color was really, really prevalent.
I like the cinematography of the show. I also think that the earthquake that happened at the end of the episode did a good job of setting the stakes, showing that all of New York was at stake, not just Hell's Kitchen, not just Harlem. These are Avengers level stakes. When you have a earthquake that affects the whole city.
Yeah, I mean,
and it probably comes out. It's probably good timing, because I guess in the MCU continuity right now, the Avengers are kind of split and apart. So maybe that might be a good rationale of why the Avengers didn't respond to the New York attack. Is because
honestly, the show can come out at a better time right now with what's going on in the MCU.
Because there's always the question of,
oh, why didn't the Avengers jump in and stop this, street level, whatever.
Right, exactly. Why didn't they call the
Iron
Avengers?
Man or any one of the 50 superheroes in New York,
Yeah, I mean, if you're Luke Cage and you're looking for a job, why don't you submit an application to join the Avengers since, you are a superpowered being.
Yeah.
You could get paid.
Right.
From Stark. So that's it. Do you have anything else for the first episode?
No.
Episode 2 is called Mean Right Hook. Luke Cage follows some leads on the Harlem Kids and ends up at the base of the Chase where the kids are cleaning up the scene where Elektra killed the last remaining Chase members. Iron Fist also follows the lead there and ends up fighting Luke Cage in a misunderstanding. Jessica gets an office visit from the missing guy who claims he was trying to stop, quote, them by blowing up a building. Elektra comes to kill the guy, but he kills himself. And Jessica chases after her only to get arrested and brought in for questioning. Matt gets back into a little hero action during the earthquake and volunteers to take on some of Foggy's extra casework, including representing Jessica Jones as her lawyer.
Yeah.
Alexandra learns of a mystical wall underground that is blocking her plan and that the Iron Fist is the key to open it. So
the fight between Iron Fist and Luke Cage,
that's the standout.
Definitely
of this episode. It's cool because like you have some of the characters start to meet each other at the end of this episode. They haven't all met each other yet,
right?
But and that happens in the next episode. But like you see them start to interact in this episode, which is cool.
Danny Rand meets Luke Cage, and at the end you have Matt Murdock meeting
Jessica Jones. Right. That fight,
and it all comes together like plausibly.
Yes.
It wasn't forced. It didn't feel forced.
Yeah. And why? Like at first I was like, well, why are Luke Cage? When I saw the promos, why are Luke Cage and Iron Fist fighting? But it made perfect sense. Luke Cage was trying to prevent Iron Fist from beating up this kid that he knew, and Iron Fist didn't know who the kid was, obviously, and was trying to get answers and everything like that. So the way they clashed, it was just brilliant.
Yeah,
and it was really fun to watch.
I didn't think that Iron Fist was going to get such a leg up on Luke Cage.
Iron Fist is probably the most powerful of the group when he has his Iron Fist activated.
And honestly, the show. Luke, to me, like Iron Fist was still the weakest of the 4 members because he's still not the Iron Fist that I feel like I know from the comics. Like the Iron Fist from the comics doesn't have like this, like erectile dysfunction order with his fist, where he just has trouble like turning it on and getting it up. It's kind of ridiculous. It's like, dude,
he kind of does, but he's much better at using his chi more efficiently and
just so much more impotent. It's probably a better way of saying that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, dude, you have your fist, use both fists, use your fucking foot. You're the Iron Fist. You can do so much more than what you're doing right now.
Yeah. Grab some nunchucks and channel your chi into the nunchucks. Or something.
But again, I guess that's just more of like how I wish it was just a more, I guess, further along, more mature take on the character. He's such a kid.
I'm still hopeful that he'll get there. But okay, episode 3, Worst Behavior. Flashback to Elektra's rebirth and training sequence as the amnesiac Black Sky. Alexandra imprisons Stick to learn where the Iron Fist is, but he escapes. That scene was awesome. I was so surprised when he cut off his hand.
Yeah, that was surprising.
I was like I didn't believe it when I saw it because like he took the sword and I was like, oh, he's gonna cut off his bonds and escape. And all of a sudden I see his hand fall to the ground. And I'm like,
how is he gonna hold his stick?
I was like, dude, you could have cut off your thumb.
He didn't really carry a stick in this one. Yeah, why didn't he just cut off his thumb?
I don't know.
Just break your thumb, pull it through the handcuffs. That's what you do, kids.
Maybe he just got done watching 127 hours or something.
Something like that.
All I know is that he made James Franco look like a freaking wimp. So yeah, he escapes, and Iron Fist meets Luke Cage, and they have this interesting discussion. Where like Luke Cage gets mad at Iron Fist, saying, you have not just like the supernatural power. You could do more. He basically implies that he could do more difference with his billions than he could with his fists, which is true. And he's like, but instead you're attacking people at the bottom, people who are just trying to feed their families, and it makes sense to an extent. I mean, they've come from very different worlds. You can understand why initially they don't like each other, but it's also a misconception. Like Danny Rand didn't actually fully come from this world. He grew up mostly in Kunlun. But
Luke
also,
Cage didn't know that though.
The other hypocrisy is that Luke Cage fights people at the bottom too. Like when he's going through Crispus
But he doesn't
Attucks,
have billions either.
But he's also, attacking and beating up and hospitalizing people who are trying to feed their families too. He's doing the exact same thing Iron Fist is. He's just coming from a different...
That is true.
...socioeconomic class. There was a little bit of hypocrisy there that they do address later on in the episode by kind of not addressing it. But he's like, so we can punch people now? And he's like, it's complicated. And that's where they leave it. Mm-hmm. I did think that was a good line, though. I thought it was funny.
Oh, that's right, in the boardroom.
In the boardroom, yeah.
Wait, this is episode 3?
This is episode 3. Yeah, I haven't got there yet. So let me keep going. So using his company's resources, Danny learns the Midland Circle building is a base for the Hand, and he goes there. Luke learns the company paying the Harlem Kids is in Midland Circle, and he goes there. Jessica learns the building the missing guy was going to. That was
sad how he learned that, too.
That was so sad. With the mom?
Yeah.
And how her son died?
And she seemed like a really nice lady, and then all of her babies died.
Yeah. That was...
You can see, like...
Heartbreaking.
The actor... who's the actor who plays Luke Cage? Damn it. I can't remember his name.
Mike Coulter.
Mike Coulter. I should have forgotten that.
You always say cold her.
I didn't.
Mike Coulter.
Coulter.
There you go.
Anyway, you could tell he that wasn't acting when he got choked up. Like, he was, like, legit. Like, I got choked up.
Well, the actress who played the mom was super... believable. Like, you see scenes in movies of moms reacting to children dying before, but this felt very true.
Yeah.
It was an emotional moment.
And then, like, it was kind of clever how it was like, you buy my mom a lottery ticket, you put it in the box, or
because she can't reach the box, and so
then
he sees the wad of cash that he left her and the Midland Circle address envelope. So yeah, that's how Luke figures it out. He goes there. Jessica learns the building the missing guy was going to blow up was Midland Circle, and so she goes there. Mm-hmm. And Matt, interested in Jessica's case and are already aware of the hole under the building from season 2, follows Jessica to Midland Circle.
You know what really bothered me?
What?
Was I can't remember if it was this episode or the episode before where Matt is tailing Jessica, and then all of a sudden Jessica is tailing Matt. And then, like, he should have sense her. Yeah, he should have sensed that he was being followed by her.
He would know before she would.
Yeah, because, he's tracking her heartbeat. Then all of a sudden he lost track of her heartbeat because, like, what? Why? And then
I thought that too.
Not only that, but he also, like, doesn't sense that she's close enough to spy on him doing his Daredevil.
He would have heard the camera. And also she could have given chase to him because he's, like, backflipping up this fire escape to go up onto a rooftop. She could fly.
Yeah.
She didn't fly too much in this show until the very end, which I was glad to see.
Yeah.
Because I almost feel like they almost forgot about that power that she has. So, I mean, it's not really flying. It's more like falling with style. Like Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah. So was that this episode?
That was this episode too. Yeah.
Okay.
So they all meet at Midland Circle for the first time, and they fight the Hand and Elektra in the most awesome scene ever. I watched this scene. Like, as soon as I saw it, you can ask my wife, we rewound that scene like 10 times just so I could watch it.
I think you overhyped it for me.
Did I?
Yeah, because I wasn't that.
I loved it.
I still think the Daredevil hallway fights are better.
That's true, but like,
to me in this one, like Jessica Jones wasn't that cool in it.
She's not a fighter.
I mean, the choreography is definitely, again, better than Iron Fist 3, and she's not a fighter, but I mean,
she's strong, but she's not a fighter.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. The choreography in this was best. It was good to see Iron Fist as a better fighter than that. I love the scene where, like, he's, about to be taken over by these guys, and he's trying to activate his fist, and then, like, all of a sudden Luke Cage busts in, and he's like, you, and he's like, me. And then, like, they start playing the Run the Jewels song. That Run the Jewels they're having a lot of songs in Marvel properties, because they have Legend Has It is the song that they used in the Black Panther trailer. Mm-hmm. And this one, I like this song better. It was just a good fit.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was pretty good. Like, and then they're like kicking ass. I'm like, heroes for hire. And then Luke Cage, like, blocks the bullets, and like Danny's like hiding behind him. And it was like a perfect heroes for hire moment, perfect defenders moment. That's the stuff I wanted to see from the show, and they really delivered in this scene with the fight against Elektra and Daredevil, and how Iron Fist. It seems like his Iron Fist is getting more powerful because it's not just the physical contact, but it has like this force behind it.
Yeah. That
almost felt like, because we know the Iron Fist has an effect where he could like kind of fire the chi out of his hand in the comics, like a Hadouken. It kind of felt like that. That may be as far as this goes. He uses it later on in the show too, when he like uses it and like force blasts all these people away.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So that's it for that episode. That's probably my favorite episode. just because of that end scene.
Yeah, I agree.
Episode 4 is The Royal Dragon. The four run and hide in a Chinese restaurant where they compare notes. Stick shows up and provides the backstory about the five fingers of the hand and how they're the elders of Kunlun, outcasted for using the city's mysticism for selfish immortality. Jessica leaves, not believing any of it, and learns the missing guy's family is being watched by the hand. Alexandra shows up at the restaurant, tries to convince Danny to join her. He refuses, and the hand swarms the restaurant. Jessica returns in time to help. Not too much in this episode. It was
but not too much, but a lot too. I mean, as far as standouts, a lot of
backstory.
Them sitting around, eating Chinese food was still cool. I still enjoyed that. It was still entertaining.
The interactions, like when I say the interactions and motivations feel very believable, I think mostly to this episode because this is where you really start establishing the relationships between the characters, and it's believable and it's solid.
Yeah,
it was a good episode. So, these were the first 4 episodes that were released to critics.
Right. Before. I was thinking about that at the end of the 4th episode. I was like, why would anyone think that this was like a worrisome series?
Yeah.
These 4 episodes in, because actually right now it's a good series.
Yes. Yeah. If anything, like some of the weaker episodes come later on. Yeah. Not earlier on.
Right.
I think people were just expecting the fighting to take place right away, but I liked how they set up the individual stories in the first episode. They started meeting in the second. They all met in the third, and then they, discussed, had interactions in the fourth, built relationships in the fourth.
Yeah,
that felt like
it's
a natural
good pacing.
Progression. Yes, great pacing.
Really good pacing, and so I didn't understand that at all.
Oh, so episode 5, Take Shelter. The Defenders fight the Hand and Elektra at the restaurant. Daredevil tries to reason with Elektra, which confuses her and leads her to leave and kind of try to discover herself. The 4 heroes flee the Hand, though Luke Cage is able to capture Sawande for interrogation. Sawande threatens the Defenders' loved ones, which prompts them to put all of them in protective custody with Misty's help. During this, Colleen is attacked by a resurrected Bakudo who injures her and puts her out of commission. Sawande is decapitated by Stick after trying to escape. The remaining fingers of the Hand, Gao, Bakudo, Murakami, question Alexandra's leadership and reliance on Elektra. Elektra goes to Matt's apartment and starts regaining her memories.
I'm just wondering, if Misty Knight is such a good detective, isn't she questioning, what relationship Foggy and Karen have to the Defenders? Because, no one knows Matt Murdock's secret identity, but for some reason, he's important enough to have people that need to be put in protective custody, I guess.
I think because the story is that Matt's representing Jessica, and Jessica is embroiled in this situation. I don't know. That's a really good point. I don't know. I didn't think about that. Maybe she did question him, and they won't tell her. I don't know. But they need to be protected regardless. I thought it was interesting how Colleen was injured mid-episode by Bakudo, because really she could have been the 5th defender.
Member of the Defenders, yeah.
She really had the ability.
And she really wanted to be, too. She wanted to go into the fight.
Yeah. That would have been interesting, too. If they expand the roster in, Season 2 of the Defenders, if they have a Season 2, then I'm sure she'll be on there.
Along with Misty Jones.
Misty Jones.
Misty Knight.
Misty Knight, yeah. And her robotic arm. So, are you thinking Jessica Jones?
Yes.
Yeah. So this was the episode that made me like the Iron Fist hand better. I think that's the only note I have on it. It was really fun seeing all the side characters meeting at the NYPD. I think we already addressed that. So.
Yeah.
Episode 6, Ashes. Matt, Jessica, and Luke decide that since the Hand need the Iron Fist for their plan, that they should hide Danny. Danny disagrees and attacks them. They all manage to knock him out and tie him up. Luke and Stick watch him while Jessica and Matt investigate more into what the missing guy's plan was to stop the Hand using the explosives. They find the blueprints of Midland Circle and learn that there's something deep beneath it. Alexandra tries to convince Elektra that she's no longer the person that she was before she died. Stick incapacitates Luke with poison smoke and attempts to kill Danny to keep the Hand from using him, but Stick is killed by Elektra, who captures Danny and brings him to the Hand. Alexandra brags to the other fingers, but is killed by Elektra, who claims new leadership of the group.
This is episode
6.
6? Holy cow.
Yeah. The start of the episode, Danny's back to being a dickhead. I didn't like that.
That didn't put me off as much as it did for you.
He should be smarter than that. He should know that, no, you shouldn't be out there joining the fight because they will use that against you. They need you to be there. You're playing into their plan, obviously, Danny. You fucking idiot.
But I didn't like the way the others handled it either. You know?
Yeah, they're kind of dickheads, too.
Everyone was being dickheads.
Stop being dickheads. I thought it was interesting how it seemed like Matt was a better martial artist than Danny, which shouldn't be the case.
Right.
Because, you know, Danny didn't go to law school. That's apparent. He's not that smart. But he did spend a vast majority of his life just going through rigorous kung fu training.
Right.
He should be a better fighter than Matt.
Should be a better fighter than he's depicted, period.
True, yes. And, you know, Matt's no slouch. He's extremely well skilled by, you know, one of the leaders of the Chaste, Stick. But he still shouldn't be better than Danny, even without the Iron Fist.
Is Stick one of the leaders of the Chaste? Because I remember, like, in Daredevil season 1, like, he goes back to, like, the leader of the Chaste, and they ask, will he fight for us?
That's Stone. But I think they're... Stick and Stone are the leaders of the Chaste, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess Stone died, apparently, because I guess all the members of the Chaste died in this.
Yeah.
But they never addressed that. So that scene was a little annoying for me. But it's cool just to see them use their powers. It's cool to see Matt back in the costume and everything.
I think it was sort of like one of those things where it's like, oh, you know, like in films, you need an action beat like every 10 minutes.
Exactly. It felt like an action beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a requisite one.
Do you know what song Daredevil was playing on the piano?
His opening theme.
It was his opening theme.
Yeah, I caught that. I thought that was kind of clever, too, how, like, well, once she said, like, oh, he always used to come on and play on the piano, I was like, it's in the piano! I saw that.
Well, why didn't Jessica Jones think about that? She's the detective. You would have, and, like, when Matt's going over to the piano, she's like, what are you doing? Because for the first part, it kind of felt like Jessica was kind of the brains of the operation, except in that moment. It felt like Matt was the brains of the operation.
That's true.
But Matt was also the leader, so, like, you know... I don't know.
Yeah.
It was interesting, regardless. The twist when Elektra killed Sigourney Weaver, my mouth dropped. My wife's mouth dropped. We both looked at each other, and I was like, holy poops! Totally did not see that coming. I thought it was a good twist.
Definitely glad it happened, though, again, yeah. I guess. Because, again, I never cared for Alexandra.
Yeah. A lot of, like, important people died that episode. Like... to the Defender's story. Like, Stick and Alexandra both died that episode. They were both shocking deaths. A lot happened this episode. It was like the big twisty episode of the series, of the season. Episode 7, Fish in the Jailhouse. Matt, Jessica, and Luke are brought to the police station regarding Sawande and Stick's death. They tell Misty about the hand. Elektra takes Danny to the mystical wall under Midland Circle so she can open it with his iron fist. He refuses, but she tricks him into doing it, revealing a cavern of dragon bones from Kunlun. Matt, Jessica, and Luke escape the police station and go to Midland Circle, where they fight the remaining fingers of the hand. Colleen helps them, bringing with her the missing guy's explosives that she stole from the evidence locker. This one, if there was ever a filler episode, it was the first half of this episode. They spent a lot of time
in the police station. Yeah, I felt like that happened a lot, like in the Luke Cage series too. Like, so much filler happens in that police station. I don't know.
Yeah. And also with Elektra talking with Danny, there was a lot of filler there, too. She made it seem like she was the one that killed the Kunlun elders, or made Kunlun disappear. I don't think that's true. It's still mystery what happened to Kunlun. And Alexandra told him that, like, you saw what you wanted to see or something like that.
I was definitely under the impression that the hand kind of, like, took over Kunlun. But
But their whole goal was to return back to Kunlun. So I don't think they did.
Yeah.
Something happened there. Elektra, I think she just said that because she was trying to get him angry.
Do you think that's sort of like a retcon? Like,
it's possibly a retcon. I'm not sure they figured out why Kunlun disappeared at the end of Iron Fist. But, yeah, she told that to Danny because she wanted him to activate his Iron Fist.
Well, couldn't you only access Kunlun, like, every 10 years or something like that anyway?
Yeah. So
Did they establish that in the show, or is that just from the comic?
They established that
I can't remember.
In the show and the comic. Although,
so why the hell was he trying to get to Kunlun in the first place?
That's true. Maybe he just went at the wrong time, you know? Like, it's not always going to be available.
Because it hasn't been 10 years since he left.
Right, the pass is not always going to be open. But in the comics,
Danny.
In the comics, he does have like a back door. He was able to train his chi so that he could open up a portal to Kunlun whenever he wants to. So, hopefully he does that in the next season. What was I going to say? So Elektra told him that so he'd open the door. When Danny activated the Iron Fist, I was like, I know where this shit's going. Idiot.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting how she did it, how she ditched... As soon as he activated the Iron Fist, she ditched the sword, picked up the sais, and, the sais are a very versatile tool. She was able to use them practically to, trap his fist and make it punch the wall.
Yeah.
She's clever. He's not. He should be more clever than that. Idiot. The fight between Daredevil, Jessica, and Luke against the remaining members of the remaining fingers in the hand, that was a pretty cool scene. It was a cool action beat. It was cool to finally see Madame Gao get punched.
Right?
Because she's always been this like mystical, unstoppable force through all of these shows this whole time. And like it's cool to see her more vulnerable. Like she's not all powerful. Like she can still get the shit kicked out of her too.
Jessica Jones punched her, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's probably best. So last episode, which was titled "The Defenders," Gao explains to Danny the dragon bones are the substance used to grant resurrection, and that removing them will weaken the foundations in New York City. Matt, Jessica, and Luke go down into the hole to get Danny, while Colleen and Claire place the explosives to bring the building down into the hole. The four defenders together fight the Hand and Elektra in the cavern. Colleen, Claire, and Misty are confronted by Bakudo, who chops off Misty's arm with his sword. Colleen decapitates Bakudo but accidentally starts the explosives timer. That was a little weird.
Yeah.
Matt tells Jessica, Luke, and Danny to get out while he holds back Elektra and tries to get through to her. Midland Circle comes down in the explosion, and the cavern below comes down around Matt and Elektra as the others escape. The incident is covered up by police, and Iron Fist takes up Daredevil's mantle as the protector of Hell's Kitchen. Luke and Jessica possibly rekindle their relationship, and at the very end, Matt turns out to be alive, badly damaged, and in the care of a nun named Maggie.
His mom.
Spoiler alert! Spoilers! So if you know... Maggie was revealed to be a nun. That was his mom that abandoned Matt and his father when Matt was young to become a nun. That was revealed in the Born Again story arc by Frank Miller. Hopefully they kind of adapt that story for the next season of Luke Cage, because that was a great story. Really, it's where Kingpin learns the identity of Matt Murdock and just truly makes his life hell.
Yeah.
And it would be a fantastic season. And I think it's cool that they brought in his mom and revealed that she was a nun this whole time, just like how they did in the comics.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with Elektra. I don't even know what happened with Matt. How did he get out of it? That's
exactly.
Part of me thinks that maybe like during the cave-in.
And how did he end up like in a nunnery of all things?
Exactly. Yeah, who dropped him off there? We know that Elektra can't die, so maybe we know she survived the attack. Maybe she saved him and dropped him off there. Maybe he was able to survive through inhaling dragon bone dust or something.
That has to be the reason they survived is because of the dragons. I think I pretty much guarantee that.
Well, she would survive anyway because she didn't get decapitated. But they would have to find a way out of there. There would have to be some other tunnel out of there besides the elevator. So what that is, I have no idea. Gao and Murakami possibly survived too, because we didn't see them get decapitated.
Right.
It's possible.
Good, because those are my two kind of favorites, basically.
Yeah, they're my two favorite members of the Hand. Everyone else could go F off.
I mean, you still have like the what was it, Steel Serpent to deal with in Iron Fist.
Right, so Gao needs
she's
to survive,
tied to that.
Yep.
And then I still want to see badass ninjas if they go back to the Hand, which I'm not sure they will. I hope that maybe they may not for the next season of Daredevil, because if they do the Born Again, which I think they will.
Yeah.
Then the Kingpin is the villain, which is awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
I want to see the Kingpin return. He's
going to get out of jail. Oh man, it's going to be awesome.
Yes.
But you still leave the door open for cool zombie ninjas with
down the line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope Daredevil season 3 is like a full season length episode of that scene with Matt and Kingpin in the prison interrogation.
That was so cool.
Like that scene, like stretched over a whole full season. That'd be great.
Yeah.
This is the first time we see Jessica Jones fly. She flew up to catch the elevator cord to save the others.
Yeah.
And the only note I have left was I was really glad that they didn't save Matt's survival for the next season of Daredevil, because I thought that's what they were going to do. I was really glad to see him in that same shot that they used in the panel, where it's the overhead shot of him laying on the bed all bandaged up with the nun next to him.
Yeah.
That was really cool. So that's it for the story breakdown. Final thoughts on the show, where we give our rating of the show. I have to give the show 4 stars. I thought it was just a notch below like Daredevil Season 2, which I gave 4.5 stars. I thought it was really well done. A lot of this was exactly what I wanted to see.
Yeah. It totally met my expectations.
It could have gone even further and matched Jessica Jones and Daredevil Season 1 in terms of villain. But the fact that they didn't do it didn't ruin the moments, the interactions
the heroes. The characters.
Yes.
And Marvel's all about characters. And I think these ones, getting to see them interact was, it was something that had been hinted at and didn't disappoint in the long run. They did it really well. It was a really well done show.
Yeah. Would I have liked to have seen Alexandra be the demonic beast from the comics? That's the mystical force behind the hand. Yes.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't do that, and the fact that the hand gets their mysticism, they trace its roots back to Kunlun is interesting, because it kind of ties a lot of things together. But I would have rather have seen the Kunlun and the Chase to be separate entities, like the light force compared to the dark beast force of the hand.
When you were talking about Elektra's backstory in the last episode during our match between Elektra and Katana, and you were talking about the beast, I was looking for that throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
Because I still wasn't convinced that Alexandra wasn't the beast. But then when they went down and they found the dragon bones, and you heard Madame Gao talking, and she was talking about these beasts, have kept us alive and stuff like that.
That was interesting.
I was like, oh, so that's the spin that they did on it. The beasts
are dragons.
They are dragons, essentially. Yeah.
That was an interesting spin.
In a way, it kind of makes sense, why they would want to return to Kunlun, because this is the last, crop of dragon bones left on this plane, essentially. Right. Maybe there's more. Xiao Lao is supposed to be undying, even though he gets his heart ripped out or whatever.
He comes back every generation.
But, so maybe that's why they would want to go back.
To get more substance from the source, and maybe even take over Kunlun this time.
Right.
Who knows? Either way, it was interesting. It was overall, it was kind of far-fetched, their plan and everything, but it fits within the universe. I think they made it work. I think they pulled it off. Still could have used a better villain. Do you agree with the 4 stars rating?
Yeah, I think it gets 4 stars because of the weak villain.
Yeah.
And really, that's it, honestly. I mean, they didn't have as many side stories and stuff like that as the other series to contend with, and the pacing was really well done.
It would have been nice to see a little bit more team dynamic.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
along the way, but you couldn't do that unless you extended the length of the show, and I think the length of the show was pretty good.
Yeah,
maybe in future seasons of the Defenders, we get to see more team dynamic.
I also think as far as stakes go, I don't think they went. I think they could have gone further.
Yeah.
Just because, when, in any film or anything like that, to me, a really good story is where, the thing that the hero doesn't want to have happen
is what happens.
Is what has to happen. Yeah. And to an extent, they sort of did that when they opened the door with Iron Fist. That's what they were trying to prevent the entire series. But really, if they could have had it so that, the 5 Fingers of the Fist do make it to Kunlun, that would have even been bigger,
But they would have destroyed New York City in the process. So I guess the more immediate goal was saving New York City.
Yeah.
Even more so than preventing them from going to Kunlun.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, that does it for the review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. Let us know your thoughts. Write into us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. Just do a search for Dynamic Duel.
Or you can email us.
At
dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. And again, I always like to say this every time. We give reviews just because we like talking about these stories, these films and these shows. Critics don't matter so much as the critic that you agree with the most. So whatever our opinions are of the show, they're not gospel, basically. Does that make sense? I'm always absolutely interested in hearing other people's opinions of the show, and so we'd love to hear from you. So yeah, definitely if you can, or if you want to, reach out to us. And I guess we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Our next episode, we're going to be reviewing the IMAX movie.
I can't believe we're dedicating a whole show to that.
We probably wouldn't, but it's an IMAX, and it's probably, since it's in IMAX, I'm assuming the 2 first episodes of Inhumans are going to be pretty self-contained.
Yeah.
Or at least have some kind of arc. This
makes me really regret that we didn't review The Killing Joke last year when they did that limited run in theaters.
We should probably come back to that. If we ever find ourselves, without an idea for the next episode, let's review The Killing Joke, because it did go to theaters, and we probably dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
So if that ever happens again, if any of the other animated films go to theaters, let's watch it in theaters and review it.
For sure.
Okay. All right. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Please hit that subscribe button, and we'll talk to you guys then.
Yep. Are you going to give the hint?
Oh, yeah. So this isn't so much of a hint for the trivia question as much as like a clarification or stipulation. So the question was, what were the first live-action television series for both DC and Marvel? The hint is, film shorts and segments in other shows don't count. We're looking for full-fledged series, named after the characters that they're about.
Cool.
So that's the hint. That's the question. Write into us with the answer. Get a no prize, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yep. Up and away.
True believers.